Hey guys, Dr. Quinn here. I want to welcome you to the first ever iChat. 2012 is all about giving you guys the answers to the questions you've been asking. So what we're going to do today. We're going to take 5 minutes of your time. We're going to help answer some of your questions. I want you to take a peek at my amazing recording studio, which looks a lot like my home office. And I don't want to let that distract you. Let's get to the Welcome Kit. Let's talk about how we can use it to help your patients and the tools that are there. Because it's a lot to read, I want to make sure that you guys know how to use it. So let's get rid of my picture down on the bottom right there so we don't scare anybody. The Welcome folder is the first portion of the Welcome Kit. The Welcome folder contains a lot of information on PRN products, on omega-3s in general, and it's information that you can help give to your patients. Now this is all available in virtual copy. That means it's available on your iPad or you can put it onto your computer. The best way to give this to your patients is via email. You of course can print it out in your office, or if you really want color copies, we can go to Staples and print them. What I am going to say is get the kit, get the full version, let's go along with it together. They are also available in individual pages. All you have to do is download them and you can disseminate them to your patients. The next page is a table of contents. It shows you that there's an introduction to the product section. There's a section on why Iris selected PRN. There's a levels of involvement section that really explains sort of the ins and outs, the office procedures. Why does PRN work, or why do omega-3s work, and support materials. The product themselves, these are information documents. There's one on dry eye omega benefits. There's one on eye omega advantage. There's one on macular vitamin benefits. When you're starting a patient on the products, this is a great sheet to print out and give them, or email to them. Or for somebody who's not sure and they want to go home and do their own research, this is a great thing to email them and say, you know what, I'm going to send you this, maybe send them a few other pieces of information, say, I want you to take a peek at these, and before you make a decision, I really want to be part of this decision because the vast majority of over-the-counter products are not going to be anywhere near as effective as the ones I want you to have. The next page is what products we recommend to use and when. You'll notice next to dry eye as well as posterior blepharitis, there are two options. The dry eye omega product, the one designed for dry eye, has a higher concentration of EPA. That's more anti-inflammatory. So what that's going to do is reduce the inflammation causing dry eye a lot faster. You of course can use the eye omega advantage as well. It just gives a slower response. The eye omega advantage, if you're going on a product just for health, is a wonderful product. Underneath this, it talks about dosing, what we should do with pregnant people, what we should do with children, and what we should do with diabetics. The next document is extremely important, and out of all the documents in this package, this is probably the most important. Why PRN? There's a patient version, that's the first one. The next one is a doctor version. I want everybody to read this guy here. This tells you an answer to a lot of the questions that we've been getting. If your patients are really savvy, you can send them this one as well. For somebody who just really wants the basic information, you go ahead and send them the patient version. These work great as email. I send this to almost every patient who starts on the product to make sure they know why I've chosen it. And I just sit there with my email open in my office, and I just drag it and drop it, let them know I'm sending it to them. The next few pages are levels of involvement, doctor-directed delivery program, and the PRN health coach. This is walking you through the nuts and bolts of how to use PRN in your office. The next document is nutrient deficiency. It's a pie chart of diseases interrelated that relate to omega-3 deficiency. What you do is you identify which your patient, you can show them where they fall on this. You have 2 or 3 of these. Well, there's no doubt it's a nutrient deficiency that's causing those. Would you like to have that nutrient? The next document is the omega balance. Out of all the documents in this kit, this is my favorite. What it's showing is the omega-6 pathway on the right versus the omega-3 pathway. The omega-6 pathway is the inflammatory pathway. I check off my patient has heart disease, arthritis, and dry eye. I show them that this is usually inflammation. What's causing that inflammation is an excess of arachidonic acid. What we can do is try to blockade the system by using medicines, or we can try to balance our system. The reason we have a lot of these diseases is because in the North American diet, we have 50 times the omega-6 we're supposed to. What I do to counterbalance that is add EPA. When we add EPA, it slows down the process up here. It slows down the whole pathway. It competes directly with arachidonic acid for the same enzyme sets. As well as when it binds to the sites, it is reducing the inflammation. So EPA is the body's natural way of attenuating inflammation. The next statement is probably the most important. I tell people that I'm glad we could definitely try EPA, but I want you to be very careful. When you do, I want to make sure it's not an over-the-counter product. The vast majority of the over-the-counter products are bound to alcohol. That alcohol inhibits the absorption into your body. Not only that, it's adding a substance to your body that you now need to digest and burn off. And in certain people, like diabetics, that can actually be dangerous. The next form is the sources of EPA for people who want to try it naturally. It will show you the fish that you can eat to get EPA DHA. It shows you the toxins in those fish, and it compares it to using a supplement. The key portion of this is that the vast majority of fish are actually very toxic. Tilapia, rainbow trout, sardines are the ones that we should be eating as long as those are from a clean source. The next document is showing us the toxins available in fish products, things like PCBs, mercury, and what those do to our body. It also has several Health Canada advisories on how much fish we should intake for people who are pregnant, as well as one of the most interesting advisories for me is that salmon, if you're eating Atlantic or farmed salmon, you are allowed to eat 3 ounces once per month. If you're eating Pacific salmon, you're allowed to eat 8 ounces once per month. So if you want to eat salmon, once per month is pretty much the answer, unless it's Alaskan salmon. Then you can have as much as you'd like. But it's the PCB concentration, and salmon is the most common fish that people eat, at least where I live. The second last series of documents is an article on macular degeneration. If you haven't read this article already, please do read it. It walks through macular degeneration in very simple, easy to understand ways for our patients. What you do is when you identify somebody who has macular degeneration is you provide them with this document, or a family member who has macular degeneration. I tend to email it to them. For some of them, again, I will print it out, but very rarely. Usually the person with macular degeneration is a little older, so I email it to their children as well as them. I CC both in, because usually it's the loved one who has brought them into the office. If I have a patient come in and they mention, oh yeah, my mom has macular degeneration, I ask them if their mother is still with us, and their answer tends, they'll say yes. What I say is, you know what, I've got an information article, it's written, I've written it, I'd like to provide that to you so that you can read it. Then I get on with the regular eye exam, but I email it to them, and I ask them to touch back with me and potentially bring their mother in to see me. I've gained a patient, but I've also potentially helped save somebody's vision. The last portion of the Welcome Kit are 3 very important articles for dry eye. The first article, quite simply, shows that an increase in fish intake, or tuna in this case, has a decrease in dry eye. I find this very useful to start a patient off in the process. Somebody's interested in understanding the process, or just not 100% sure, I send them this article. The next article is a study not performed by PRN, but including PRN's products. And what it shows is that PRN Omega Benefits used for dry eye actually has a superior level of bioavailability, or permeation into the red blood cell membrane, than 2 competing products. These are triglyceride products, so this shows that it's not just ethyl ester products that PRN products absorb better than, it's also triglyceride products. The last article is an outstanding piece of literature, and what it's showing is for the first time in history that using an omega-3 product, the omega-3s can penetrate into the meibum, changing the composition of the meibum, which is then adding that an anti-inflammatory action right at the site most needed. When this was shown in front of the Ophthalmological Society, there was a lot of commotion about it, a lot of interest, because this is the first time ever that they've proven that by changing your diet and adding omega-3s to it, that can penetrate into the meibum. This has been tried before. This is the first article showing it. You put these 3 articles together, you get a nice little summary showing that fish intake helps with dry eye, PRN's product more bioavailable, last portion, PRN's product, the only one proven to get into the MyBoom. I want to thank you guys for spending your coffee break listening to the first ever iChat. This is the Welcome Kit. I hope you find the information useful. I've got to get myself to work because I've got some patients waiting, and I know I'm going to be talking about PRN today. I hope you're going to do the same. Thank you for your time. Dr. Quinn signing off.